Welcome to the Southern Underworld, your place for original horror, sci-fi, and thriller content where the stories are always written with heart. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment. We'd love to know in what part of the world you are watching and what is your favorite horror movie of all time. Thank you for watching and enjoy the video. The moment this movie opens, it establishes a chilling atmosphere, wrapping its audience in a web of guilt, paranoia, and relentless terror. In the grand tradition of slasher films, this movie delivers all the hallmarks of the genre: stunning cinematography, a foreboding sense of doom, and a killer whose presence lingers like a whisper in the dark. Directed by Jim Gillespie and written by Kevin Williamson, this film stands as one of the definitive horror films of the late 90s, riding the wave of post-Scream meta-horror while forging its own uniquely disturbing identity. The film's story is deceptively simple but endlessly compelling. Four friends, Julie, Helen, Barry, and Ray, find their lives shattered after a tragic accident. In a moment of sheer panic, they make a decision that will haunt them forever. 1 year later, they receive a chilling message: "I know what you did last summer." From that point on, they are stalked by a faceless entity who knows their darkest secret and is determined to make them pay. What makes this premise so effective is the way it transforms everyday guilt into something monstrous. The central question isn't just who is after them, but whether they ever truly escaped the consequences of their actions. The weight of their secret festers beneath the surface, and as the killer tightens their grip, it becomes clear that their past mistakes have manifested into something far more terrifying than they could have imagined. One of the most compelling aspects of I Know What You Did Last Summer is its delving into the psychological ramifications of guilt. Each of the four main characters reacts to the trauma of their shared secret in different ways, and these reactions shape their fates. Julie is the conscience of the group, haunted by their crime in a way that isolates her from everyone. She embodies the moral weight of their actions. Helen, the former beauty queen, tries to bury her guilt beneath the surface, focusing on reclaiming her lost dreams. Barry takes a more aggressive approach, using his rage and arrogance as a shield against his culpability. Ray, the most reserved of the four, attempts to move on but is dragged back into the nightmare by forces beyond his control. This psychological dimension elevates I Know What You Did Last Summer beyond the standard slasher formula. It is not merely about a group of teenagers being hunted. It is about the consequences of their decisions and the inescapability of their guilt. The killer, rather than being a mindless force of destruction, is a vengeful specter that forces them to confront what they did, turning their shame into a weapon against them. Few horror villains are as visually striking as the fisherman, the shadowy figure in the slicker and hook, who haunts the film's protagonists. His presence is an embodiment of their guilt, an avenging force lurking in the mist, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Unlike the supernatural killers of horror lore, the fisherman is a figure of flesh and blood, which makes him all the more terrifying. His methods are deliberate, his movements eerily patient, reinforcing the idea that this is not random violence but a calculated act of retribution. What makes the fisherman particularly chilling is his restraint. He does not rely on excessive gore or overt brutality to instill fear. Instead, he lurks in the periphery, watching, waiting. The film's cinematography amplifies his presence, utilizing shadows and reflections to remind the audience that he is always there, even when unseen. The horror is not in the act of violence itself, but in the knowledge that it is coming. One of the standout aspects of I Know What You Did Last Summer is its visual storytelling. Unlike many horror films that rely on dim lighting and chaotic camera work, this film embraces a crisp, almost picturesque aesthetic. The coastal town setting, with its fog-drenched docks and quiet streets, becomes a character itself. The juxtaposition of serene beauty with lurking horror creates an eerie sense of unease. The film also utilizes classic horror cinematography techniques to build suspense. The long, lingering shots, the carefully framed close-ups, and the strategic use of silence all work to heighten the tension. The horror here is not about overwhelming the audience with non-stop action. It is about drawing them in, making them feel the weight of every glance, every breath, every moment of hesitation before the inevitable strike. What makes I Know What You Did Last Summer endure, even decades after its release, is its ability to tap into universal fears. The fear of being watched, the fear of past mistakes catching up to us, the fear that no matter how far we run, we can never truly escape what we've done. These themes ensure that the film remains as relevant now as it was in 1997. Additionally, the performances elevate the material beyond the typical slasher fare. Jennifer Love Hewitt delivers a compelling portrayal of Julie, her fear and desperation palpable in every scene. Sarah Michelle Gellar, fresh off her rising fame from Buffy the Vampire Slayer, brings unexpected depth to Helen, making her more than just the stereotypical beauty queen. Ryan Phillippe's portrayal of Barry is infused with equal parts bravado and vulnerability, while Freddie Prinze Jr. brings a quiet intensity to Ray, grounding the film's emotional core. At its heart, I Know What You Did Last Summer is more than just a slasher movie. It is a meditation on guilt, consequences, and the inescapable nature of the past. It takes a simple premise and transforms it into something deeply unsettling, keeping the audience in a state of constant dread. The blend of psychological horror, masterful cinematography, and an iconic villain ensures that it remains one of the most memorable horror films of its era. For horror fans, this film is essential viewing. It embodies everything that makes the genre so enthralling: suspense, atmosphere, and an ever-looming sense of inevitable doom. Though it may not be as overtly self-aware as Scream, it carves out its own niche, offering a chilling, beautifully shot, and psychologically rich horror experience. Without a doubt, I Know What You Did Last Summer earns its place as a standout in the horror genre, a film that lingers long after the credits roll, just like the shadow of the fisherman himself. I Know What You Did Last Summer is a teen slasher horror mystery that is 1 hour and 41 minutes long and is rated R. The Southern Underworld gives it 5 bloody knives.